I think if you want to get into the creative industry, you need to keep, I've said this like 100 times as well, you need to keep like sharpening your skills or your tools. Like it's not just about like being creative and artistic. It's like because we're in a field that technology keeps developing, like people's ideas of creativity and art and fashion or whatever field you're trying to get into, it keeps changing. You need to change with that, and you need to, like, for example, right now 3D technology is like, you know, evolving, and we have NFTs and we have stuff like that in the market. You need to sort of evolve with that. You can't just be stuck to your one type of, because things evolve and technology evolves and you need to go with it. So if you don't do that, you're not going to upgrade yourself. At the same time, if you're doing this for money, you need to remember to do things to fuel your creativity too. Otherwise, you sort of lose your like passion for it.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You're now watching Kinetic Outcome, and we are with Aanchal, aka Matryoshka, and also an art director, a model, a photographer, an actress, an entrepreneur. So, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your 4 businesses.
Okay, so we got my name down. I am turning 30 this year. Crying about that.
I don't look
Low
like
key
it.
inside. It's fine. That's great. So essentially, I'm a photographer. That's what I do full time. But I art direct, and which is great for like getting my creativity unleashed within my work. I model and act, which I actually have been doing for a very long time. But then I stopped, and then I got back into it, and it's just a whole story there. And then I run 4 different businesses. So the first is Matryoshka Studio, where we're here right now. And then I run Stage Creatives, which is like a larger scale visual production. We don't just do photography, we do videography, animation, graphic design, web design, and development. We're doing a little bit of branding. We're basically trying to create like a whole package that like a client can have consistent visuals for their brand. And then I co-founded Stage Management, which is a sister company to Stage Creatives, with a business partner. Her name's 𝘼𝙧𝙧𝙗𝙗, and she and I decided to come together to create an agency that's about diversity, inclusivity. We're trying to have talents that are represented fairly, that they get paid on time and they know why and what they're going to work for. And we're making sure that they're safe. And so that's what we're aiming to do. And then I also co-founded Academy of Design, where we teach like short courses and workshops in fashion, either in English or Cantonese, and taught by industry professionals. So that's me in a very long, big nutshell.
Make sure you drop notes. Okay, so to wrap it all up in a little circle,
okay,
I just wanted to ask a question on how did it start? And then how did you push through, then come up with these 4 business ideas?
Okay,
like
so
those aha moments.
Yeah, very recently I actually noticed about myself that all of these businesses that I started all came out of a need that I have experienced or within the field that I felt was lacking. So for example, with photography, it was always my interest, right? Like I've always been into it, and we've known each other since we were studying together. So my major was in fashion design. I always like put my finger in all things fashion, and I kind of got into photography that way. But I felt like there was a huge lack in the sense of coming up with like proper direction and creativity, and not just coming up with pictures that I think is beautiful, because I don't look at myself like as an artist. I'm helping a brand sell their products. So I'm working with the marketing team or the person who runs the brand themselves to tell their story, not something that is only mine, right? So if you look at my work, you might find things that are pieces of me, but a lot of it looks very different because I'm not selling my work as photography, as just my photos that are pretty. I'm selling what the client wants to represent. And I think that lacked big time. And so that's what I was trying to do at first. And then with stage creatives, it's because a lot of clients actually came to me after saying, okay, like you're doing photography, we're working with you, but do you have like a videographer? Do you have someone that can help me with my website? Because I like your vision and I want someone who works like your wavelength. And over time, I've actually gotten to know all these different types of creatives because we're kind of in the same field and we kind of work hand in hand. So I put together a team that I was comfortable working with, and I kind of art direct everyone in the team to make sure that we're all on the same page, but like everyone's doing their own thing. And it's really nice when we get to work on different projects because it's a great creative outlet for me as well. And then stage management came out of the need of, because for me, diversity was a big thing. Like, I'm brown, I'm Asian, but I don't fit the Asian bracket here, and I don't fit the Caucasian bracket here. So I'm like this sort of weird in-between being that exists, and I just don't know how to get out there because there's no space for me to, be. And with acting as well, very similar. So for me, it was a big thing on diversity. But for my business partner, she is a full-time model and she's Eurasian. Her biggest thing was like when you start modeling, you're very young and you get put into situations that are really uncomfortable. And every model that I've spoken to has experienced it. You get put into situations with other photographers that are not very nice. I'm just trying to be
awkward.
Yeah, awkward is a nice way to put it.
Or
you get asked to do sexual favors.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, you get asked to like strip your clothes when it's uncalled for, not needed. It's not a creative thing. It's just that, people are just weird sometimes. I've been asked if someone can sleep with me before the job. Like it's weird. It gets really uncomfortable. And especially when you're very young, you kind of don't know, if you're not aggressive enough, you don't know how to say no.
And you have the thought of, I must do this.
Yeah,
because I want to succeed.
And so it's a lot of pressure, and at the same time, like a lot of, casting directors will not pay the talent. So they're like chasing for money for their job that they've done, and they just never get it. I've met a lot of talents who've experienced that when they were younger, and when they get older, they learn how to adapt to it, but they've made a lot of losses to get there. Many people just quit before they even have a chance to get there. And so it's upsetting because there's so many things that we can avoid and we can be better at, and so we decided to start the management. And with Academy of Design, last one I promise, our niche was basically that I studied fashion design and I have been doing that for 6 years, and all the schools that I went to a couple. All of them advertise as English speaking, but then, when it comes down to it, it's taught in Cantonese. And I speak Cantonese, but for my peers who don't, it was difficult for them to learn. And if you want an English-based school, you're spending a lot of money to get that information. Many times you don't actually learn the skills that you really need to actually go and be a designer. You learn things to be extremely creative and make runway things you look really exaggerated, but the reality is you might need to create something that you can market, and you don't know how to do that, or you don't have the basics of how to make a garment. How are you going to get someone to actually make it for you if you're going to mass produce, because you don't have the essential knowledge how to do that yourself. And so we decided to create courses that are English or Cantonese, that are taught by industry professionals and that are affordable and at timings that work for people who are maybe currently working and they want to swap fields, or people who are students and want to do something on the side, because not a lot of Asian kids get a chance to be creative and work in the creative field as their first choice. And so that's what I do.
Okay, but that wasn't the last part.
Okay, what was that?
I also wanted to ask about DBS Sparks on the acting side.
Okay.
So how did that happen, and how's your experience so far? Still ongoing, as you said.
Yeah, how did that happen? Okay, so it's an interesting story, that one. As I said in the beginning, I got into modeling and acting when I was younger. I started when I was 16, but it wasn't something that I particularly I won't say that it was something that I was instantly drawn to and I was really happy to pursue that full time. I've had a lot of bad experiences, and the first acting opportunity I had was when I was 18. I was told it was a documentary for a primetime TV show, and it was not necessarily a documentary. It was scripted, and it was scripted in a very racist manner. I was not happy to be part of it, and I had found a way, a loophole out of it in a sense, but the casting directors for DBS Sparks had seen that show years down the line, and then they reached out to me for this character that apparently they thought fit me really well. I actually said no to it at first because she reached out to me on Facebook message, on my personal Facebook, on my business Facebook. She found my email and emailed me. Like, she reached out to me, and this is like in a span of 5 minutes, by the way. Like, every 5 minutes I get like some sort of email or message. And I was like, I don't know who this person is. Like, she's asking me all these like questions about acting. I don't act, like, you know, so I was just like, no, I was creeped out. But then a friend of mine who does casting at that point of time, he had posted it 5 minutes after I said no. And he posted looking for talent. And so I was a bit curious because I trust him. So I was like, okay, maybe this thing is legit. And the pay was nice. And, you know, it was a good opportunity for me to like explore something different in my career. And so I was like, okay, let me just go for this casting since like people have asked me. I show up for the casting and they they basically asked me to do very little, and then I had already gotten the role. Later on, I spoke to the casting director and she told me that they had already like really liked my profile and felt that I fit this character, who when I read the script and like I got to know the character, she's basically me if I was to be a banker. Like, it's just me as a banker. I don't have to act. I just show up on set and I'm just being myself, and that's 𝘼𝙧𝙙. So it's really nice, but then in another sense, like, she's a bit different, and like there's a lot of things of her that I've incorporated in who I am today. I've been 𝘼𝙧𝙙 for 6 years. So at first we were not the same, but I feel like we're becoming the same. It's weird. It's weird. I don't think I can ever let her go. Like, if I ever had to, I don't think I could. Like, I'm glad we're ongoing. You know what I mean? Because, yeah.
It's like another reality version of you that's just in one reality now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I wanted to go back on the photography side, because for me, I was always into anything creative, right? And whenever I did shoots before, we literally did a shoot with somebody, and she wasn't naked, but she was wearing like really revealing, I think bikini, was it? Is that the right word? But anyway, when we were doing the shoot, and she was so into it, and she would do her poses, and she's really like, hey, does my behind look nice? Okay. And then we would always give that expression of, oh, I love that shot, right? But we were talking about photographers that made models feel uncomfortable. Yeah. But I'm just curious, because there's also an art form of naked photography. Yeah. So mostly are these photographers women?
Well, I do naked photography for a personal series, and the reason I started it and the message behind it is that not all bodies are not supposed to look at as like sexual things, like where it can be looked at as art as well. And I feel like it's just, if it's done tastefully. And I think the main important factor is if you're approaching a model, right? A lot of them are male photographers, but if you approach a female talent and you tell her upfront that these shots are going to be nude, are you okay with that? It's different than when you tell someone, oh, it's going to be like a beauty shoot, and when they show up, you're like, oh, sorry, can you just pull your top down? Oh, can we do this shot topless? Oh, can you like take your pants off? In that moment, when someone is unprepared. And the examples that I was giving before, for example, is I've heard where there's a very famous commercial photographer who reached out to someone I know who's a model, and she was asked to go there. There was going to be a makeup artist and a hairstylist and like a team, right? When she goes there, there's no makeup artist, there's no hairstylist, there's a drawer with makeup, and she was expected to do her makeup there. It was a very dark studio. Instantly, she was already like creeped out because there was an agreement that was given beforehand. And after she, did her makeup, she was there and she was like, okay, I'm going to be professional. I will continue on with the shoot. She started posing, and like I said earlier, it was a headshot. And then he would be like, can you take off your top? You can cover it with your hands. Oh, can you do this? Can you do it? And then he would try to push her to be naked, and he showed her some model pictures that he'd done of girls naked. And he's like, well, I'm a famous photographer. Like, if you're not, like, what is wrong with you? And he followed up with some other creepy things. But I mean, essentially, if you tell someone upfront and they're like, okay, I'm comfortable with doing this, then it's okay, because they're coming in knowing, being mentally prepared that that's what they're expected to do. And like, if they're okay with it, they're okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question though is going to the challenges that you went through these past couple of years doing what you're doing, and also at the same time, what's rewarding in the process?
Okay. I think initially when I started out very young, like in my early teens, mid-teens. And the initial challenge for me was to be seen as a professional because I was so young, and I have like a baby face, so like till now I don't look my age, which is great now, but like, you know, when I was in my early 20s or something, I want people to take me seriously, and it was so hard for me to like show up to a meeting. I've been in a meeting where like we're sitting like this, me and the guy who's running the company, and he's literally like, so this is your work? So you have, this is your studio in this picture? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, so how many people are working under you? What's your monthly income? You know, like shit like that. I'm like, what is this? Like, are you interrogating me? Like, just because you don't think I fit the image of what you were expecting?
Was it in English only, or are you experiencing Cantonese?
Cantonese and English.
Because it's so funny, it's like, 𝘼𝙧𝙩𝙧𝙗𝙗𝙗.
So he spoke to me in English, but it was a local guy. And I think the hardest thing for me was to be seen as an equal, as a female photographer, a young female photographer, but it's getting better now. So like now I don't have this issue with people, but back then I had it a lot. You feel kind of sometimes like you might be in the wrong place or in the wrong field because no one takes you seriously, and you just have to push 20 times harder than, you know, your peers, because you just have to prove something that you actually should not need to prove, and it's frustrating. But then that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges for me in terms of photography. You know, I've been asked by like certain clients, like, can you lift your camera? Like, do you really understand how to like light things? Because, you know, you're a girl, and like technical things are like, you know, for guys, right? Your assistant does it for you and you stand there and press the button, you know, like shit like that. And it's like, you don't want to hear that, because that's not what I do much more than that, you know, so it's like annoying. But as a talent, I think the biggest thing for me is being like the difficulties where like if I go for a casting and I'm given a script and there's a character, there's a look to this character that they're looking for. Obviously I'm there at a casting because I fit that look, otherwise you wouldn't have me there at the casting, right? But then they'd have me stand there and do the whole audition, and then when they ask me to introduce myself and I say blah blah blah, I'm Indian, they're like, I'm sorry, can you do that again? Because like I think the director will love you and you completely fit the role. You've done a great job with this performance, but can you just say that you're Eurasian? Because you don't look Indian, and I think like you would sell better, like, you know. And at first I would think, okay, no one's going to watch this, it's only going to the director, so like it's fine, I'll do it. And shamefully, I used to do it. I'm not even going to lie about it because that's the truth. But after some time, I was like, why should I? Because this is Indian too. And if I fit the bill, it doesn't matter what country I'm from or my ethnicity or whatever. It's that I'm playing this character, and the character doesn't have a like an identity fixed to her, you know? So like, why does it matter just because you think it's more tasteful to you? That's not okay with me. So if they ask me to change, I'm like, no, sorry. Like, I'm Indian, I'm going to say I'm Indian. If you don't like it, too bad. Find someone else.
Okay.
Yeah. And the rewarding part of all of that is, despite all of these like horrid experiences or these difficult situations that I've been in, I feel like I've had a lot of good reception from like clients who genuinely trust me for like my creativity, and they want my like ideas in their, you know, they want to listen to what I have to say too, and I really like that. Or to be able to start like stage management, for example, in terms of acting or modeling, like we're coming together to try to change how talents are seen or, you know, get work here in Hong Kong. And it's very slow, but then we're getting there, and I feel like that's really rewarding to see other people who are like me, or like for my partner as well, to be able to ensure that talents are being treated fairly on jobs and they know what they're getting into before they go. It means a lot to us. Like, we've even been in a situation where there was a client who reached out to us and we weren't sure like who they were, or like were they dodgy. So we actually accompanied the talent on set to make sure that she was safe throughout the project, because I feel like that's the least we could do. And it's something I wish someone would have done for me when I've been put into situations that I really was not comfortable to be in. So yeah.
Okay. And this is an additional question that just crossed my mind. You know, kinetic is about kinetic energy, right? You keep moving forward and things just come to place. You attract it. You're like a vortex that just sucks in what you actually pursue.
Yeah.
As long as you're moving faster than everything else. So I wanted to ask you about when you were young, you were building that trust, and at the same time you wanted to move faster to get more of these opportunities. How did that all come to place? Were there a lot of situations where you just didn't expect it, but you already had a picture of your mind how it should be today? Or is that a too deep of a question?
No, not at all. So actually I have this on my arm.
And before we continue as well, like is this and the 4 businesses exactly how you pictured it?
Not at all.
Okay.
But I've had this on my arm. It says serendipity. The reason I have that there is because everything that I do is not something that I've planned out. It's just good things that have come my way that has ended up being something that I ended up doing. Like, for example, when I was 16, my dream was to be like a big fashion designer. That was my goal. Like, I wanted to have a huge brand, and I had like this concept of being like bigger than H&M. God knows what I was thinking. But that's, well, not anymore. That's not something I want to do at all. But like back then, it was something I was adamant that I'm going to be this, and I'm going to make it by 20. I'm going to be like a billionaire. And like I had these unrealistic expectations, let's be real. But I guess photography sort of came my way through experimenting. Modeling and acting came my way. I didn't even look for it, like for acting opportunities. Even like DBS, I wasn't looking for it. It just came, and it was something that kept pushing into my life. And then I figured, okay, what is this that keeps knocking at my door? Perhaps it's something that I should be looking at, and I've just been ignoring the whole time. And so then I'm like, okay, let's see where this takes me. Yeah, I feel like that's how I've gotten here today. I never thought like when I got into photography, I wanted to have my own studio space one day, and I'm really lucky to be able to have this space, or my previous space as well. But I never I guess what you're asking is if I've manifested these things because I was like constantly thinking about it, but no. I never really sat there thinking, I need this, I need this, I need this, and then it comes.
So you weren't chasing at all?
I wasn't chasing, I was just pushing for that. I don't think so much okay, 20 years from now, I need to be exactly there. Because I can't guarantee I'm going to get there, and I change. And I'm okay with that now. Whereas before I've learned that I was dreaming of something, and I never even ended up in that path, So why should I keep thinking towards that one direction when I have 20 others that those might actually be right for me? But if I actually listen to what's going on in my life and the things that are changing in me, then maybe I'll hear that calling out to me, and then I might run with that, which is how I got into acting and how I got into photography. It's things that have just came my way by itself, So I stopped thinking I need to just focus on that. It's more what's coming my way in that moment. But obviously I still move forward. I don't just dwell in this little line. If I'm doing photography, I'm going to think, okay, this thing is the next upcoming thing, and I want to kind of combine that with what I'm doing now. So I'm going to try doing that and see what that takes me. And then I kind of just do that.
And every opportunity that approaches you, when you open that door, it just opens more doors.
In a sense.
And then how would you explain in terms of the trust factor being a part of that throughout these years?
I think
how important?
It's important.
Emphasizing it.
It's important.
And also being in that moment and making sure your craft is more than 100%, maybe times trillion or so. Because I know you take your art seriously.
Yeah, I do. I feel for me, it's more if I'm talking to someone and they're on the same wavelength as me. If I walk into a room with a client or something and we're chatting, first of all, if they're looking at me like I'm incapable to do that job, no matter how much I sit there and persuade them, they're not going to like
that.
Yeah, they're just already thinking I'm not going to be able to do it, and how is she this, that, this. So okay, if you're not sure about me and you're not sure I can take on this project, then I'm not going to get it. So no matter how much I try to persuade you, you're not going to be happy with, you're going to find something wrong in what I did, even if there isn't anything, So if I get into a room and I read that this person is already receptive to me and they like my work and that's why I'm there, I will listen to them too and see what they actually want. Because like I said in the beginning, it's not just about me giving them something I think is pretty. It's honestly it's their brand. They've spent so much effort building it. They have a vision for it. That's why it's there and that's why it's existing. What story do they want to tell, or what market are they trying to hit? Because not all markets are the same, and not all people have the same cultural habits and thinking. And I think that's something I picked up when I was studying design. It's that you're not an artist, you're a designer. You're not trying to sell what you think is beautiful and hope someone buys it. You're trying to craft something nice that sells to people, like keeping the idea in mind that I'm trying to sell to you. So it's the same with photography, really, if you're doing commercial photography, which is why I think people do end up listening if they are receptive to that, or they like the way I work with them. It's just a very magnetic situation. Like when you're talking to someone and you kind of get along, you kind of feel that it's working, and then that's how you work together and do well, you know? If it's for me, it's for me. That's what I always tell myself. If that job is for me, I'm gonna get it.
And then how do you mix in for the past over a decade already, right? With your financial goal, or I don't really know, I never asked you personally when you moved out, but when you move out, that's when you're like, okay, now I need like to hit a standard every year, right? Because I have to pay for my bills. So how did you get to the level that you want to get to, at least at a comfortable stage financially? In that process, like, did it take 5 years, 6, 7? When did it take off where you're like, okay, I'm comfortable, it's cool.
Okay.
And I'm probably being blessed more and my cup is overflowing. Like, how long did that take? Like, the hard work and the hustle.
Okay, first of all, I'm Sindhi. So I'm naturally born good with my money.
Okay.
I think it's, I'm just kidding, but it's something that I think in our community we're instilled with, especially like the men in our community are instilled with this mentality of like how to grow your finances, or how to maintain your finances, or how to save money. Like we're growing up with this ideology already. My father was very good with that as well. He was very adamant that even though we're girls, like in our community sometimes like the concept of females is that I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings by saying this, but that you are, you will study whatever and then you get married to someone who's wealthy and that's it, you're set because you're married to someone who's wealthy. My dad was never like that. He looked at us equally as he looked at boys, and so he would tell me and my sister, like, you need to be financially stable yourself. Like, I don't care if you're going to get married to someone who's rich later, but right now you're going to stand on your own feet and you don't know what's going to happen to you. Even if you're married and something goes wrong with that marriage, you need to be able to sustain yourself. He was always pushing us to that. He had his own business, so I was lucky to watch how he was running that, although the principles do not apply the same to what I'm doing. I think having that backbone already helps. Like, I still live with my mom and my sister, and for many different reasons. Like, I chose not to move out. I was thinking about it, and my family knows, but then it was just these situations, like, for example, with my dad not being very well and knowing that we didn't have much time with him. I didn't want to not be in the house with him. I wanted to be there all the time and to help out with my family if they need my help and stuff like that. So I chose to stay, but I do have expenses and bills, and I do need to make sure that I'm financially stable to afford them. And I think I just have been very careful with how I spend my money. I don't spend a lot of money unless I really need to. I feel like that's something that I've always had in me. And I don't know,
I think now you know your monthly expenses, right? Let's just add the rent on top of that if you did move out, and you'll know how much in your head.
Yeah.
So how long did it take to get to that level? Yeah. Like Hong Kong wise, ideally at least 30,000 most minimum would be okay, to live comfortably. So was it 5, 6?
I think
7
from
years?
when I started, I actually started renting my first commercial space at 21.
Well, you are renting in a way, either
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
right?
So I would have doubled the expenses if I moved out. But
Okay.
yeah, I started renting my first commercial space at 21, and that space is actually the most expensive space I've ever rented compared to this space and the previous space. And it was very scary for my family at that time because I just graduated uni and I had to pay a lot of rent. But I had already had a bunch of savings, and I knew that if all else fails for 2 years, my contract was for 2 years, that if I suck and I completely cannot bring in any income, I will have used up my savings, but I still am able to afford it on my own. I feel like that's something I thought that much, that if I couldn't bring in, at least I have that. And I would have failed badly, but I'm still young enough to stand up and get work again and build up my finances. And I wasn't, needing to spend on anything else at that point. So I think I have an amount of a figure in my head that if I was to invest in a space or anything, I need to have at least 2 years, 3 years, in my pocket as of now. So if I fail, I still can pay off my bills without having to get a loan or be stuck in a rut. But when I started that, I basically was lucky not to have wasted any money, and I did bring in what I spent, a little more than what I spent, so I was profiting money at that point, but I wasn't profiting too much because I had a huge rent that I wasn't smart. I think maybe 5 years into photography, I would say that I did pretty well, in my head at least.
You mastered it already.
I mean, in order to pay my bills and be able, if I wanted to move out, I can, and I will not cry about it. So and I can still pay this and pay that and have money for myself and to do things I like. So I feel like it took me 5 years of breaking my head to get there, against a wall to get there.
Okay. Why I asked you is because what we do with Kinetic Outcome as well is ask them how long did it take them. And even the books that I read in successful people, they always say 5 years. Maybe it might not pick up yet, but 6, 7, it starts to pick up, and 10 is where they get to where they want to be.
Yeah.
So it's a reminder to the audience that if you're there for 1, 2, 3 years,
the first 3 years
quit.
they say, the first 3 years they say is genuinely don't expect profit. And then after that, you would have been able to gain. So for me, it was 5 years.
But you have to be in that consistency and don't break the trust.
Yeah,
because you break the trust, even you're consistent, it will still crash. I just feel like you're riding a train, but you have to keep it running. You're just putting the coal. But if you keep the momentum and then you start hiring people to put the coal in, and you're driving the train this time. So 5 to 10 years then. That's a pattern.
I suppose.
Cool. And next question is personally you, okay? This is not out of ego, but what do you feel the market doesn't have that you have in terms of your approach? What's unique?
In terms of photography first?
Every single area, I don't mind.
Okay. Like I said earlier with photography, I think my approach is different in the sense where I don't just, sit there and be I feel like the client doesn't understand photography. I'm not expecting them to. I'm not expecting them to be I want you to do this, and then that's it. Some clients do, some clients don't know, right? They just want an outcome and they expect you to give them that outcome. And they're hoping that the outcome you give them will help them generate more profit. Because that's the concept of, I'm a commercial photographer, that's my job, right? Same with the videos that we produce or anything, it's to help them build their company and grow their sales. And a lot of photographers I notice will have the same recipe because they just want quick cash, and so they will just, have the same background and the same recipe of lighting, and they will just mass shoot. And it's much cheaper that way, but then at the end of the day, you're getting content that looks like everyone else's. And when someone's scrolling through, let's say, social media, which is a big market for people to sell things on, they don't find any niche in what your product is because it looks like the next person.
It's like music nowadays.
Yeah, it's the same recipe, same beats that people recycle, and then one is popular, I'm going to take those beats and put in mine and make a song out of it. But at the end of the day, you don't have that juice. That's your juice. And I feel like for every client that I have, I want to find something that helps them look unique. Even if they want to look like another brand, or that's their inspiration and that's their strategy, right? There's always a niche you can input in that looks different for you, and then that helps your market identify that's your. When you think, for example, of Lush, like the nice smells. Okay, it's very on streetwear is that type of scent. Like you walk past the shop and you smell it and you know it's them. Body Shop is the same. Like you have this image of the colors that they use. You have this image of the scents that they have. That it's organic or it's vegan, or like the color, like the vibe that you get from that shop. Zara, there's like a certain style that they sell to, and like if you like that style, you go in and get, because you already have this pre-notioned image of it. So for any brands to successfully like sell to an audience, you need to have people understand what you're actually selling so that they remember you when they think of you. Jewelry, clothes, everything. It applies to everybody. A lot of people don't think of it that way, and for me, I just want to help clients like have people understand what they're selling, and so I do that with my images, and then I hope that helps them sell better and like have a unique look to what they're trying to sell. Same with the casting, like we don't have the same recipe of models standing there for every single brand. Like they're catering to different audience, people look different, so we have different ethnicities, different types of faces, like different makeup approaches, like different things that help them look unique. So that's what I think I do differently with photography. I suppose that's art direction. That applies to my photography, that's different. And with acting, I don't know what I do differently. I don't know.
You know why it's different? Because I never ever seen you acting anyway. So
you've never seen me act?
That's why it's different to me.
Okay.
I like watching it. I'm waiting for the new episodes.
Okay. Thanks.
It's just pretty cool. Like, yeah, I know her. I can just WhatsApp her. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting to see you grow throughout these years. And also when you were describing about the smell, the vibe, it's all sales, right? They're selling the experience. And we spoke about this prior to filming. It's always an experience. And what I love about Lush is you walk in there, so the way they sell to you, so this one smells like this. If you want a better scent, not too strong like this, and you're just smelling all of it. But in the end, people shop there by scent, actually. And then McDonald's as well, you remember that smell. And triggers your subconscious mind. You're programmed with the red logo with the yellow fonts. So that's how
you can taste it just by thinking of it. That's the idea. But that works for any kind of business, literally any business. And you think of any kind of company, they have like a successful one will have like a signature color, a signature vibe. When you go on their website, you go on their any like marketing material, you sense that and you get an idea of what they're selling and something special about that company. You already can, it just gets stuck in your head. And then when you think of, let's say, that field, instantly you think of that business because they did such a good job with marketing. But people always undermine or like don't, realize how important that stuff is.
Cool. Well, you learned a lot. Yeah. So for the next question, I'd like to ask, this could be anybody.
Okay.
Could be someone you haven't even met as well, or could be more than one. Who do you look up to most?
I think for me, I look up to my mom the most because I think when we were kids and, in our community, a lot of like moms and stuff weren't working, and she was like one of the first women who were like, she's very passionate about education and she loves kids. Like she was born to be with babies. And so, she was like, okay, my kids are old enough now and I want to get into the working field. And it was something unheard of within our community in that age group of women, and they're all housewives. And, so she was the first one to take that step. She graduated.
80s, 90s.
No, 90 something, like 90s the year. I was born in 92, so it was about, I don't remember, but basically I was about 10 or something, I don't know. And my sister was 5-ish, I don't know, Mom, tell me if I'm wrong.
So she broke the norm.
She broke the norm, and then to the point where she pursued her university degree, and we graduated at the same time. And
that's cool.
It's cool. She progressed in her field. She's gotten to a point where like a lot of people headhunt her for work. Within her industry, she's like established and everyone knows her and they take her seriously. And like, as a person coming from a minority background, having, being the age that she is and like having started her career in most people's, in current day, it's considered late, but like, she's gotten to a point where she's like the head and the top of her field. It's really impressive. And she's really like always she puts every single thing first for her job. Like her, the school that she's working for, that comes first. And she will do anything to make that succeed. She's helped like so many schools start from the ground up to the top. And like, she has so much passion, and like, it's something that me and my sister have grown up watching, and we aspire to have that much passion for like what we do. And she was always like a believer of do what you love, because you'll succeed when you do something that you love. And she's one of the reasons why like me and my sister were able to pursue a creative industry. I suppose she's given us that fire to like keep pushing forward no matter what hurdle we come across, because we love what we do and we want to keep, So I feel like she's like the biggest inspiration. But like in the sense of just personal life, I feel like my dad's a big inspiration as well, especially after so much that he's gone through. Like, I feel like looking at him and that he was able to go through all of that with such a strong heart and mind, I wish that I could have that much courage. I don't, but I wish that I could.
It will be developed in time.
Yeah.
Life's full of challenges.
Yes.
You never see it coming. I guess for my self-reflection on everything you shared, your dad's kind of like the fire in business, and your mom's the fire of passion, and then it combined to you and your sister.
Yeah, perhaps we were born out of fire. Yes, we're fiery people.
Okay, and this is close to the end.
Okay.
What about like in the process? Some people, they have a lot of support, so they could barely see the non-support, right? How was it for you? Was it like balance, or you had more people that didn't support what you wanted to do?
I think at first, I've never been a social person. Neither my whole family has never been social.
Didn't know that. You're pretty sociable with me.
Oh, but I'm literally the biggest introvert, and I've never like within my community or anything with my classmates, like I've never been social. I just sort of live in a bubble of like things that I like doing, and that's it, So it's kind of sad, but that's the reality. But what was I saying? I was so busy talking about how I'm like not social.
Not support.
Oh yeah, okay, got it.
People and supportive people. How was it like?
Yeah, so when I started like in the creative field, I felt like it's untouched area within like the people around my family and me, and so it was something like people were not particularly supportive of, and they didn't particularly understand until they saw me succeed to some level. Like according to them, it was successful, and then they were like, "Oh, okay, now we like her." It's which I think has put me off people a little more, if I'm being honest. Like, because I've just grown up with people always sort of judging, and then when you do something good, all of a sudden they're like, they want to be your best friend, and it's like, okay.
Been there.
Like, yeah, it's frustrating, So I don't know, and I've never really. I'm an introvert, so like all the more I'm like, I'll just go back. I have a turtle, and I relate to my turtle a lot.
Are they 4?
What?
You got Donatello, Leonardo.
No, I have one. Her name's Baby.
I was talking about Teenage
Mutant
Ninja Turtle.
I know.
Okay, cool.
But I didn't name her after that, so.
Okay, and any like tips or advice you would give to people that would want to pursue what you have pursued? Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna look at the people to give the tips. I think if you want to get into the creative industry, you need to keep, I've said this like 100 times as well, you need to keep like sharpening your skills or your tools. Like, it's not just about like being creative and artistic. It's like, because we're in a field that technology keeps developing, like people's ideas of creativity and art and fashion or whatever field you're trying to get into, it keeps changing. You need to change with that, and you need to, like, for example, right now 3D technology is like, evolving, and we have NFTs and we have stuff like that in the market. You need to sort of evolve with that. You can't just be stuck to your one type of, because things evolve and technology evolves, and you need to go with it. So if you don't do that, you're not going to upgrade yourself. At the same time, if you're doing this for money, you need to remember to do things to fuel your creativity too. Otherwise, you sort of lose your like passion for it. Because you get into it thinking, okay, I love what I'm doing it for fun, I enjoy it so much, and then when you start doing things commercially, you have to play by other people's rules many of the times, and you kind of lose that fire. But then do things that you like to keep that fire going, and then you'll, keep. And that's coming from a fiery person, according to Hector. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
and last question is there anything you're excited about that's about to happen in the
I'm
next
excited for
couple
this.
of months?
I'm excited for this episode to come out. Yes.
And everything else you're working on, besides DBS Spark, I already mentioned that as well. Just anything you'd like to share, or maybe just keep it secret and just watch.
Well, I don't know, I'm picking up some new skills at the moment, and I'm excited to see what that leads to, because I feel like that's going to evolve my work to another level. I hope.
We'll be rapping, you mean? Oh, I'm kidding.
What?
We'll be rapping together?
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
I actually have a rapper name. Someone has given it to me. Because my name's Aanchal, and like many people will write to me an email and think the L is an I, and I don't know why, but they'll write Aanchal. And then someone was like, because I was like, I like chai, like I'm Indian, I drink chai every morning, so like chai is a good thing, right? And then she was like, how about like if you had a rapper name, it would be like Lil Chai. So I was like, I like that, right? So if I end up becoming a rapper, that's my rapper name.
And all your punchlines are related to cameras?
Or tea.
Tea.
Because of the chai reference.
Okay.
Or like just brown punchlines, because why not?
Yeah.
Hit us up in the comments if you want to see
I was like
me
thinking
rap.
of punchlines, but we'll do that behind the scenes.
Yeah. I'm not good at that. I have to like pre-think about all this stuff.
Okay,
but,
cool. But to get to the serious part,
Okay.
like, is there anything that you are excited about or you want us to look forward to?
The new thing that I'm working on.
That's one.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay,
Yeah.
we will
I don't
see.
pre-plan it much anymore, like I said before. I just wait till things come at me sometimes, and I just script them like that. So we'll see.
What's the rapper name again?
Lil Chai.
Lil Chai. Okay, guys. So I guess that's about it. Matryoshka.
Lil Chai. Peace out, yo.
Yeah. Kinetic
That's so
outcome.
bad.
Pleasure having you.
Yes. Thank you for
And
having
appreciate
me.
the whole thing. It's a lot, and I'm sure everyone will love what you had to say.
Yeah, I hope so.
They will.
Our aim is to provide value, so if you like what you watched, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'm also a financial advisor based in Hong Kong, so feel free to check the description box for my details and email or DM. And if ever you need video and photography services, the phenomenal videos you're watching right now are filmed by Edry Mendoza. Lastly, if you love hip-hop music, rap, R&B, singing, whichever that sounds amazing to your ears, because I always do a lot of experiments with it, feel free to drop by my channel at SCF Saint or Saint Crossfade. Appreciate you for being part of this episode and more to come. Till next time.